I think I think we've seen that Nvidia has a pretty good influence over the entire TradFi market. So kind of, Nvidia, whatever it's doing to some effect is going to have, a pretty big impact on what equities are doing across the market in whole.
Hmm.
So the huge puke on Nvidia last week that we saw, after the whole deep seek whatever bullshit that happened, um, a lot of equities are already down, 10, 15, 20% from the beginning of January, whenever they were getting up towards highs. So I was looking at equities a little bit this morning. I mean, I think Nvidia is down like 3% on the day. Apple's down like 4.5% on the day. So they are definitely feeling it a little bit. Um, yeah, I don't know what it's
It's
showing.
green now.
Yeah, I think in the last, like, since the, let me look at it because I was just on Yahoo this morning. Yeah, so it's saying that since market open today, Nvidia is down 2.8%.
The hell Yahoo talking about?
Because it's showing the same price.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, who knows?
Who knows?
Bullshit. But
I know you're
yeah,
right. Minus 2.8, 2.86%.
yeah. So I mean, they are down a little bit. I think Apple is down like 4.5%. But I mean, obviously, like if you're looking at this chart here, since the beginning of 2025, when we had the yearly open, I mean, Nvidia is down what, 40, 50 points since the beginning of the year,
January.
almost 40 points,
Yeah, we opened.
or like the first week of January, January 3rd, January 4th,
Oh yeah, cooked.
from the
And
highs.
then from the highs, 26%. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, on something like Nvidia, I mean, that's a massive move. Um, Especially when this thing's just been operating like the S&P 500 and has just been pretty much up only for forever. To get a move like that's pretty significant. So I think that a lot of the move to the downside was already kind of priced in on these markets just from what's been happening in the last couple of weeks, especially with this chart specifically. So
It's a good
yeah, I
point.
mean, we're going to see what happens, but I think Bitcoin holding firm over the past 24 hours is really important too, because I think people are seeing Bitcoin, especially with all the countries that are adopting it as their national currency and are building Bitcoin reserves and all this other bullish news that's coming out on Bitcoin. I think it's interesting because it's showing that a lot of people, whenever they're de-risking in crypto, rather than feeling the need to fully rotate into stable coins and just go completely risk off, people feel confident enough to either continue to hold Bitcoin through times of a lot of uncertainty, or whenever they're rolling up the risk curve, they're not going all the way to stable coins. They're comfortable holding Bitcoin, knowing that it's going to be able to hold its own value and not be a piece of shit like ETH.
Hmm.
So I think that's really good news for crypto in general.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing that I was taking a look at yesterday was until we lost this range on Bitcoin, I knew it wasn't over. We were just getting slaughtered on altcoins. And so if you take a look at the liquidation event that happened yesterday, BTC didn't even come down lower than this wick right here. It didn't even take out this low. So in January 13th, whenever BTC wicked down to 89,000, 89.3, it wasn't over here. We didn't think it was over. We knew it was going to come back into this range. This was just a liquidation here, liquidation wick. And then you get this move all the way back to the upside on the inauguration. And then we come back down. We get the monthly open, the February monthly open. And as soon as we got the monthly open, which I expected the move to the downside, I was literally talking to the guys inside the Taylor's Code saying, I'm expecting this to happen. We always get this downside move on the monthly opens. Okay, set the bear trap. Then we should be moving up after that first week. We get the nuke off the monthly open. The problem was is then it got it happened, and then on top of that, the uncertainty with the trade wars happened, and then we get this extra pronounced move to the downside. And so Bitcoin, it doesn't even come back down lower than this. We're still in the range. It's still here. It's fine. It didn't break down. And then we all the way back up to 98.6 right now. We already retested the mid range. So look how perfectly it's playing. So just came right back up to the mid range, rejected. Probably play around down in here a little bit between the 2025 yearly open and the mid range. Probably play around in here a little bit before we get some certainty and obviously decide our next move up or down. But yeah, I see this and Bitcoin looks fine. It's not a scenario. So I'm not positioning in a scenario where I believe we're going to go into a bear market and the cycle pretty much topped out. We're going to start rolling over on Bitcoin. No, we basically just had a mid-cycle correction on altcoins, had this big liquidation event on these alts, but Bitcoin's still standing strong, right? Bitcoin trading down in here, Bitcoin trading here, trading here. At no point was it ever over here. So why would it be over here? We never lost our support. We never lost the market structure. It's still here. It's fine. So what I imagine is going to happen is Bitcoin's going to obviously continue to range for a little bit before we get some more clarity in the markets. And in the meantime, altcoins are kind of going to chill out or try to find their bottoms here over the next week or two before Bitcoin starts to show that it's ready for its next leg up, which we talked about on last stream should be around 130,000. We'll get our next fib confluence. But yeah, if you look at the RSI on Bitcoin as well, I mean, we came down, we retested these lows on the RSI. We had one right here. We had one right here and down over here. We haven't really come back down below that since the August and September nukes. So we got this nice bounce on Bitcoin. So I don't imagine it's going to come down much lower than this. It looks fine. It looks pretty much okay. We're in the range still. We're fine. We're good. So Bitcoin's fine. Here's our problem. There's our issue. This is our issue right here. Altcoins is what got smoked. So I had this range drawn that we were taking a look at on February, or not February, looking on Ethereum for the past couple months. And then we broke out of this. So here's the issue, right? So we were in this nice range over here where you could draw it like this. I mean, I had it drawn. Not sure why I drew it like that, but something to this degree, right? So we have this range on Ethereum. We're playing in here, right? And then we get this nuke out of the range. Well, as soon as we broke that market structure, unlike we did on Bitcoin, which held the range, Ethereum broke the range, and then you got this massive puke yesterday with this insane wick down to 2,100. Now, take a look. There's a reason that it liquidated all the way down there, because here was the previous low on Ethereum, okay? So open interest, longs that were opened on Ethereum down here, the reason this cascade kind of stopped right here is because it took out this final low and it pretty much liquidated any longs that were still open in the market. Everything got fucking smoked, okay? So you get this low wick down, it cascades down this low, or it sweeps this low, and then we start pumping all the way back up because all the leverage is closed now. So what happened was we had this August 5th nuke last year, which on August 5th last year, that's whenever Andy was down to about $60 million market cap. Wolf traded all the way down to about $15 million market cap. And those of you who weren't around, we were accumulating more of the boys club all in this range, right when it was fucking premier prices. And this was what happened. Same thing. Boys club was up at a couple hundred M each last May in summertime. Gets nuked all the way down to about 15 mil on Wolf, 60 mil on Andy. They get cooked down here on this nuke. Creates this new reaccumulation range before we took that next leg higher. ETH came back down into this reaccumulation range, okay? So it wicked down in there. So here's what I think is going to happen, right? So this is why I had this already pre-drawn out to show you guys. So here's what I think happens. So on this August 5th nuke, the RSI was super overextended. You can see it in the red down there, showing that it was super oversold. Came out of this purple range on the RSI. We didn't get that on this nuke down, which is crazy, even though it came all the way down to like $2,100. We never actually got into this red zone. So what I think is going to happen is, unless somehow ETH turns around and pumps all the way back up into this range that we had created over the last 2 months, there's nowhere for ETH to go other than back in this reaccumulation range. So what I imagine is going to happen is, unless we, like I said, start pumping hard, ETH is going to drift back down in here and start doing one of these again. before eventually we start pumping again. So if we start to play this move out again, this range, obviously ETH is going to come lower and our altcoins are going to come a little bit lower as well. Now, the altcoins are pretty much as bottom as they could be, but another 5-10% potentially if we get all the way back to the bottom of this range, because you see this wick down here. This was just in last August, September.